After some instructor error, we are going back and retrying the Chapter 13 product list, which is Extra 13-1. What you'll notice is, if you look up here, even though we had a chapter and we had just had a test on using master pages, the author is like, okay, we don't have to talk about master pages anymore. And they're gone. There's no master page in here. All right. We still have all of our stuff from before. So we've still got in our Bootstrap Min CSS, our CSS, the jQuery, and the Bootstrap Min JS. So that's still in there. All right. We've got a Jumbotron in here. We've got our form in here. All right. And if you look in here, you know what, I think the one I gave you, I might have given you the completed one. Let's look. That's okay, then we'll just talk about that. Nope. All right. So what we have is the ID, the product, the unit price, and the on hand. Now, if you look at this, a couple things about this. You may or may not be able to tell. All right. But these are all spaced out now, and they're all spaced out using Bootstrap. All right. And if you go in there and you look at the code, it'll show you how they're spaced out. The reason I'm telling you that, we're adding a new column. Okay, at the end, it's going to say total. We still have to equal what number for all our columns? 12. Right now, it equals 12. So we're going to have to take some of the stuff that's in there and make it smaller so that we could put that new one in there. All right, so just remember that as we get started. Okay. No, we're not going to stack it. We're gonna cut down the size of a couple of these columns.
No, I mean, if you didn't do that.
Then it would take the one and you would put it on the next line. So you'd have the total for each one on its own line, which it'd be right. You're right. It'd be right underneath it. It would look really bad. All right. Okay. So let me stop the run. Get back in here. And honestly, I have no doubt this will work just fine now. So I'm going to go back into design mode, and we're right here. Okay? So open, select, click next. We've done all that. All right. Now, if we look in here, and we look at our source mode, all right, hopefully you'd all agree with this. It is the category that we want. That's done. It was category that we wanted for that first one. That was already all set up. Okay, we want the category because remember when we're running this, what you see right there, all right? It is going to end up giving us this information, all right? But the point is, this is what we want to be able to do. So that first one is this. It's the drop down. All right, we're getting that from the categories table. Does that make sense? All right. All right. Then when we come in for our second one, that's right here. All right. Now we've got the product ID, etc., the unit on hand from products, all that stuff where this is equal to this. So we've got a whole bunch of stuff in here already. Now, I'm going to try something, and I'd just like you to watch because I don't know if it's going to work or not. All right? But this isn't the way I did it before, but I'm going to try it like this. And if it doesn't work, I'll just get rid of it. I'm going to come in here and literally put in a comma, hit enter, and I'm going to put in here and I'm going to put in here unit price times on hand. I wouldn't do it if I were you because this may or may not work as total. Okay? Now, if I do that, that's going to add that. Does that make sense? Now, I'm going to have problems though because I have to account for that in here or else I'm going to be hosed. So right here, these are those headings that you saw. Okay? This whole thing together, this thing, everything that you see right there, that is the data list control right there. Okay? And right now it's 3333. That's all fine. Well, I've got to find a way to get 3 more columns. Right? So, the way that I did it, I'm trying to think of the numbers that I used here. I made them 3, 3. Of course, then start reading off the wrong one. That's always a good thing to do. I made them 2, 2, 2, 3, 3. So I made this one 2, the ID. I made this one 2. I made this one 2. I left that one at 3, and then I added a brand new one here. Oops, jeez Louise. And this one said total. All right, that's going to give me a brand new heading, but I don't have the information yet. All right, so I cut this down from 3333 to 22233. Now please look up at the screen, because since I changed these to 2, I've got to change these to 2. 2, 2, oh my gosh. 2, 2, 2. That one will stay at 3. Then I've got to add another one here. All right, and this will become LBL total. All right, and what I want to eval on there is total. Okay, and I should have used this one to copy it from because I want it also to be currency. And I'll tell you what, if this works, I'll just run off a hard copy and you can all look at it, okay? All right, now I'm going to save it, and now the moment of truth. Okay, so there's our new column. There's our total right there. All right, if I go from costumes to special effects, etc. So let me run off a hard copy for everybody, and then let's go through the hard copy. All right, then I'll give you a little bit of time to work on it yourselves. Now, again, the way that I did it isn't the way that they did it in the book. So if you want to go and look at what they've done in the book and use that way, you're more than welcome to do so. Theirs is more graphical, but I don't even know why. I'm just used to doing it this way, and I can't even tell you why. So I'm going to run this off so you all have a copy. Move to 201 black. My default preferences. Sides. Landscape. They're not here, but it's not really that much to do. There's 2 or 3 pages, 2 pages, and then a little bit at the top of the next page. print job, and I asked for it to be collated two pages per sheet, and it gave me an uncollated 1 page per sheet. So let's take a look at this from the top. The author gave most of the code to you here because this was basically the same project that they did in the book in Chapter 13. Am I right in assuming that everybody understands that? Okay. I did look online. That was the other thing I had, and of course, unfortunately, I closed the browser window, but I looked up the auto event wire up equal true. And to give you the skinny on this for the explanation, by saying auto event wire up equal true, the system ends up writing a lot of code for you in the background, so you don't have to write it. All right, for lack of better words. I'm just, like I said, I'm just keeping it simple. All right. I'm also under the understanding that everybody understands all that. Correct? Okay, then let's take it from there. Remember, we're still working in Bootstrap here, so everything that we do is going to be in our div of class container. So that's everything that we've got in there. All right? All right, so then we've got our Jumbotron. Okay? It says image set in site.css. Well, let's even look at that. So notice what they did. All right, it may not sound like a big thing, but by putting that in there in the Jumbotron like that, again, what we're doing is we're saying that, hey, we don't even have to worry about that in our regular code. That's just something, it is in the background, so we're going to put it into our CSS. So as you can see, now there's nothing in here. They didn't even need the comment, to be honest with you. They just put it in there so you knew it. All right, so we've got everything within main, so here is our form. Again, as we take a look at what's in here, we've got a label for the drop-down. So the label says choose a category. Again, please look at the screen. Am I right in assuming that control makes sense to everyone? That's just an ASP.NET. In fact, it's not. It's an HTML label control. In fact, somebody tell me, why is that an HTML label control instead of an ASP.NET label control?
Text doesn't change.
Because it's static. Okay? Plain and simple. All right. Then we've got this. And notice that since we made this, we're saying extra small 4, but we're saying offset for a small, making offset a 1 and a small 3. So they're jacking with it a little bit to try to make it look as good as possible in a responsive way. So then we've got this because this is new. All right. Here's our drop-down list. You should already know how to use a drop-down list. That's no biggie. You've done that before. But the only thing that we've used before has been the ID and the run at. We haven't used, and we've used the CSS class. But if you all look on the screen here, because this is the most important part right there, that data source ID equals SQL data source, we're binding that control to that data source. Does that make sense? All right. Next, what we're saying is, okay, the text field that we're using is long name. What the heck does that mean? If you look up on the screen here, this, the word costumes or the word masks or the word props or the word special effects, that's long name. All right? So in other words, that thing that you see right there is this. Okay? But this is where we want to get the data from. It doesn't matter. The long name is for us, right? We want to be able to remember special effects. We don't want to remember Cat 06. But the way that it's displayed or kept in the database, the primary key is the category ID. And that's typically what you're going to have in your data value field. But just because you've got one thing in the data value field doesn't mean that what you're going to show is going to be the same thing. It could be. If I went in right now and changed that from long name and made them both category ID, then what you'd see when we ran this is instead of seeing here costumes, you'd see like cat 01, cat 02. Does that make sense? All right. All right. Then we've got the actual SQL data source itself. Again, there it is. There's the run at, there's the ID, there's the connection string, and that is the associated query. Does all that make sense? This is very similar, except we did queries like this last semester. The only difference between this and that is what we're doing now is we're doing it inside of a programming language. And since we're basically using that select command is a string. Why is it a string? Because it's in double quotes. All right. So we're telling it that's the string. So again, these are all the properties for our drop-down list, and these are all the properties from our SQL data source. Okay? And I'm hoping that at least makes some sense to you. All right, then we go down a little bit further. And as I mentioned to you, this is our data list. It starts here, and it ends here. So you can see how long that is. All right, this is what we had to make some changes to. If you take a look right here, originally we had just these 4 fields, and they were each 3 wide. But since we added a new field, we had to account for that, and there's different ways of doing it. That's just the way I chose. There was nothing special about 22233. That's just what I chose. All right, but 22233 still equals 12. So these fields that you see right here, those fields right there, those fields are these fields right here. Does that make sense to everyone? All right, that's these fields that you see here in gray. All right. Then we've got the actual item stuff. And again, maybe it'll make more sense to put these on their own lines also. So this is our item template. So the information that you see right here, all this stuff in this item template that you see right there, that information is this information that you see in the table. Does that make sense? All right. And we are saying for each field, give it an ID, give it a run at, and this is basically telling it to go into the database and grab that particular field and associate that particular field with this particular label. Does that make sense? don't know if it'll let me do this, but I wanted to, I'm going to try something in just a second to show you. Now, and you'll notice that the unit price and the total are also both have some formatting. You already know that formatting. Remember that formatting, that kind of formatting from C# last semester? We did stuff like that. We're telling it to take unit price and, which is location 0, and give it currency format. And then after the data list, if you look up on the screen, this is the data source. So we have 2 data sources in here. The first data source is handling the category. The second data source is grabbing the information from the database that we need. What I'm going to do, what I'm going to ask you to do now, if you can turn in the one that I just gave you, hard copy, but if you want, and I'm going to give you some time to do this, if you want, go take a look in your book on starting on page 462. On page 462 of your book, they show you what I just did by keying in the code directly. They show you how to do it in a much more graphical way, all right, by using, for instance, the item template on page 465, the header template on 465, and the properties box on 467, and the data bindings box on 471. But what I'm saying is, I don't, start brand new if you want to, and if you don't, don't. But the point is, I'd like you to try this on your own using the stuff that's in the book and see if you like the way that they show it in the book. Because if they do, that's the way that you should do it. If you don't, and you want to go back then because you've got the hard copy, and you want to come back and just key it in, that's fine too. Is what I'm asking you to do make sense? Well, I see at least 4 heads shaking, so that's good. All right, it's 4 out of 6. That's, I mean, I can't ask for much more than that. All right, so I'm going to give you the rest of the period today to do this. And tomorrow afternoon in class, the first thing that we'll do, because hopefully Brady and Dominic will be back then, the first thing we'll do is we'll do the second exercise as a class. I'm going to go back and I'm going to retape this at home, and I'm going to retape both the end of the chapter, and I'm going to retape part 1 here, okay? And I'll do it nice and slow, so hopefully when I do that, I won't make any mistakes. So tomorrow, that'll probably take somewhere between the first half hour and the first hour to do the second exercise. If you want to try to do that second exercise on your own, go ahead. If you don't, that's fine too. So let's say that takes an hour. That'll put us at about 1:30. So after a break, maybe 1:45, then we will go over chapter 14, which is on using the grid view control. I will tell you, out of everything that's left, you'll like that one the most, because it's like working with a spreadsheet. It's fairly simplistic to use. It's fairly intuitive to use. So we'll do that, and if there's any time, we'll do that end of chapter exercise. Then let's just see where we are after that. Okay?